This South African township illustrates the gaping inequalities that persist more than 3 decades after the end of apartheid. The vast grasslands of Gauteng are owned by prosperous white farmers, but houses some 7,000 Black South Africans who live in small, metal homes like these.
We will not be deterred.
To redress it, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed an expropriation act last month. It allows the government, in rare cases, to confiscate land without compensation. It's reignited racial tensions and caught the attention of U.S. President Donald Trump. The mostly white-owned farms around Gauteng are a small piece of the bigger picture. White South Africans make up about 8% of the population, but they hold about 3/4 of privately owned land in the country. In contrast, only 4% of privately held land is owned by Black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the country's 60 million residents. One conflict that arises is that Black herders need grassland to graze their animals. Shadrach Maseko lives on the white-owned Mayorskap farm. His grandparents came here in the early 1900s to seek work as farm hands. The farm had seen several white owners who had been happy for them to stay and work. But in the past decade, Maseko and 14 other families living here have been in a dispute with the new white owners over grazing rights for their 30-odd cows.
First of all, when a white man comes and leases the farm, first of all, you must remove your cattle. All of them. He doesn't want the cattle. Nothing. All of them. So maybe it's the criteria they are using to remove all the Black people on the farms.
For many Black people, disputes like these reflect a legacy of inequality left by the colonial and apartheid eras. In 1913, a Native Land Act gave most farmland to whites, mostly Afrikaners of Dutch descent, leaving just 13% to Blacks. Then, in 1950, the Afrikaner National Party passed a law removing 3.5 million Black people from their ancestral lands.
It becomes an emotional thing for farmers. I'm speaking of farmers specifically now.
Many white farmers see the law as a threat to their way of life. Danny Brewer raises sheep, and he gets along with Black neighbors and administrators. But he said that the new law removes protections for people like him.
It's not only land. This new law can take anything. You come and take your house. If you want your car, they can take it. But there's a lot of checks and balances in place and a process that must go through.
Callie Kriel is the CEO of AfriForum, a group of mostly white South Africans who oppose the new law. He said so far, no land had been seized, but he feared what may come.
We don't believe there are land being confiscated now, but we cannot just rubbish those remarks to say it's not something that can happen. We are saying it could happen in future.
30 years of ANC government has created a class of super-rich Black businessmen, but done little for the poor majority. Legal expert Tembeka Nugai-Toby said every state has a means to seize property for the public good.
It needs the power to override private interests. And this is the law everywhere in the world.
He said the new law was aimed at a longer legacy of apartheid, a reserve of wealth still controlled by the white minority.
Because apartheid was not just a political system, it was also an economic system. And it created an economy of its own kind by locking Black people out from participation.
In a Truth Social post, U.S. President Donald Trump said, without citing evidence, that South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly, alluding to the new law which aims to even racial disparities in land ownership. The White House said on Friday that Trump signed an executive order to cut U.S. assistance to the country over the dispute. The order also includes plans to resettle white South African farmers and their families as refugees.